India First, let's begin by telling you about how the United States hunted down Osama bin Laden, the world's most wanted terrorist. This, incidentally, was a promise made by Barack Hussein Obama as the President of the United States of America. In his book, A Promised Land, he writes how he was under the impression that Osama bin Laden would be found somewhere in the tribal areas of Pakistan, but not in the heart of Pakistan. What is more damaging for Pakistan is the fact Pakistan Army and the ISI were kept out of the loop by CIA and other US agencies because they were confident that Pakistan Army and ISI was in cohorts, it was in league with Al-Qaeda, Taliban and other terrorist organizations. Take a look at this report before I get you more about how Pakistan's duplicity has been exposed in this book.
With the world in turmoil and the United States in big transition, one thing has become very clear. The US does not trust Pakistan. Whatever use America has for Pakistan, the truth is America believes Pakistan has links with Al-Qaeda. And now a former US president has struck at Pakistan's duplicity. Barack Obama, in his new book, A Promised Land, reveals how the US hunted down the world's most wanted terrorist on Pakistani soil. The book explains the complexities the US faced while taking down Osama bin Laden. Obama states that Pakistan was not taken into the loop as there were suspicions that Pakistan would tip off the terror mastermind. The book states, "We had one other constraint. Whatever option we chose could not involve the Pakistanis. It was an open secret that certain elements inside the country's military and especially its intelligence services maintained links to the Taliban and perhaps even Al-Qaeda, sometimes using them as strategic assets to ensure that the Afghan government remained weak and unable to align itself with Pakistan's #1 rival, India." Obama further writes, "The fact that the Abbottabad compound was just a few miles from Pakistan's military equivalent of West Point only heightened the possibility that anything we told the Pakistanis could end up tipping off our target."
We had located bin Laden hiding within a compound deep inside Pakistan. The United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. A small team of Americans carried out the operation with extraordinary courage and capability. After a firefight, they killed Osama bin Laden and took custody of his body.
With a blow-by-blow account of the Abbottabad raid by US Navy SEALs, the former US president writes that the top-secret operation was known to very few people, even in the federal government, as they could not afford any leaks which could compromise the mission. Obama's book explains how the US could never trust Pakistan in its bid to smash terrorism.
India has always known this, but now coming from former US president is a big revelation which adds on to the fact that Pakistan has been the center of gravity of global terrorism.
India's neighboring nation's duplicity in dealing with terror is known to all, but with a former US president's memoir, the well-known fact has now been documented for all the world to see. Bureau Report, India Today.
The world knew it. Pakistan is a state sponsor of terror. India has been saying this all along. Afghanistan has been saying it. The United States of America, a former president, has said it in no uncertain terms. Remember, Donald Trump has been saying it for quite some time. I want to bring our guest into this conversation. Joining me on the show is Qamar Cheema. He's a noted defense analyst from Pakistan. Lieutenant General Gurmeet Singh is former Deputy Chief of the Army Staff. He's served extensively opposite Pakistan in the line of control and of course at the actual ground position line at the Siachen Glacier. Aarti Tikku Singh is a senior journalist who will join us in a moment. She's written extensively on Pakistan state-sponsored terror. But Qamar Cheema, this clearly cannot be a feeling of pride for any Pakistani that the United States says Pakistan army is untrustworthy, ISI is untrustworthy because they are in league with Al-Qaeda and Taliban and cannot be trusted in this war on terror, as was in the case of Osama bin Laden. Qamar Cheema.
Well, I think as far as this trust is considered, normally wherever the Americans deal globally with any power. They don't trust with anyone. Even they have been going for spying on the United Nations, on their friends in Germany, and the friends in Europe. So I think as far as Pakistan and America is concerned, it has always been a bad marriage. It was a transactional relationship, and the Americans never trusted Pakistan. But it is an alliance which we have with the Americans for fighting this war against terrorism, because this is a common goal. Pakistan and the America fought terrorism together.
I'm sorry, I think you're missing out the point. Kamar Chima, you are missing the point. Your army supports terrorists. Your army trains, arms, launches terrorists. The most powerful man in the world, Europe, says that your country uses Taliban and Al-Qaeda against India and Afghanistan.
In the same chapter which you have studied and what I have studied is President Obama is clearly saying that the Pakistani authorities have been helping us in fighting terrorism, and they have been helping us in dealing with the non-state actors. So it is an Indian version book, and there is a version which is we are reading, and the general public.
Indian version of Obama's book. What you think it was printed in Daryaganj? You think this book is being printed in Daryaganj?
Printed in Washington.
there has to be some logic. There has to be some logic to what you say. But let me bring in General Gurmeet Singh. General Gurmeet Singh, Pakistan army is in denial is understandable, because Pakistan army is a terror-supporting army. The fact that Pakistani citizens are in denial, people like Kamar Chima are in denial, is an indicator of a bigger problem. The country lives in denial, it seems, General Gurmeet Singh.
Absolutely, Gaurav, you are dot on. See, it is not a matter of version or alliance. It's a matter of a bad state, and that's Pakistan. In fact, it's a massive revelation by not a common person, by a former US president. In fact, it has been documented now forever that he's categorically talked about four things. First is that it was an open secret that the Pakistani military and the intelligence services had links with Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Second is that he's given blow-by-blow account of operation of Abbottabad raid, which happened on 2nd May 2011.
Yes.
Thirdly, he gives out the various planning and the options. And so categorically he said that Pakistan is one state which cannot be relied upon. They are not trustworthy, so they cannot be shared classified or secret things. I think that's what brings out a major issue. In fact, it brings out very clearly that Pakistan was and is the center of gravity of global terrorism. Its military, its intelligence agency, and the Pakistan state is itself deep into terrorism.
Unreliable, untrustworthy. Aarti Tikku Singh, that's another. Yes, and another very important aspect that Barack Obama brings out in his book when he talks about the youth of Pakistan and the rampant radicalization. He says he wants to drain the swamp of their mind, that this is a country where the youth are being radicalized to the extent that it's worse than Yemen, Iraq and countries like that, Aarti, which is again a cause for grave concern.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Mr. Chima actually has read his book very selectively. In fact, President Obama mentions in the book several times that he was the only Democrat during the presidential election campaign in which he, 2008 or so, when he stood out against Joe Biden, against Hillary Clinton and every other Democrat who was focusing on Iraq and Afghanistan. Obama was the only candidate and the only person in the Democrat Party who was saying that the focus should be Pakistan, because Pakistan is the biggest exporter of terror. Pakistan was behind 9/11. Pakistan has been a safe haven for fundamentalists, for radicals.
The maximum number of...
And the fact that he clubbed,
absolutely.
Pakistan
maximum number of drone strikes on Pakistan actually took place in Barack Obama's time. Yes, absolutely. And Kamar Chima, I want to quickly bring you in on this aspect. Your country, according to Barack Hussein Obama, former president of the United States of America, is radicalizing youth. radicalizing you to the extent that it's becoming, as Aarti was pointing out in the book, it's becoming worse than Yemen, Iraq and Afghanistan in terms of radicalization. And your army is actually taking advantage of these youth and using them against countries like India and Afghanistan. Kamar Chima, this is very telling commentary and exposing how Pakistan and its army functions, sir.
I think if you are a good student of history and journal is also sitting here, it is the Americans and the Saudis who funded billions of dollars here in Pakistan, Afghanistan to make people radicalize. So it's the American administration have been doing in the past. Have you forgotten Hillary Clinton, who she said that we funded, we imported Wahhabi brand of Islam from Saudi Arabia into Afghanistan and Pakistan. They did it. So when they were making these people radicals, it was fine. And when we fought with the Americans to eliminate these extremists, you are calling Pakistan a terrorist country because this suits India. But let me tell you, the American version is different. The American Pakistan has
no. If it was wrong,
Pakistan is eliminating terror, and this is where the Americans stand.
You are the only Pakistani who will quote Hillary Clinton.
We have supported them in bringing peace in Afghanistan, and we have supported the Trump administration. This is Pakistan eliminating terrorism.
Without frothing in the mouth, sir, please realize that it is harming you. When you quote Hillary Clinton, also quote Hillary Clinton when she said that Pakistan cannot keep snakes in its backyard and expect it to bite only its neighbors. So if what America did was wrong, why is your country continuing to do that? Why is your country, are you so addicted to terror? You know, General Gurmeet Singh, it appears Pakistan is not only suffering the cancer of terror.
Sir,
why are you compounding that problem? Why must you continue to die by suicide? Why must you continue? Why must you continue to do that?
Will you speak to them?
Absolutely.
No, you won't, because you are a partner to them.
I am very happy if your country, General Gurmeet Singh, no.
Absolutely.
Kamar Chima, you don't seem to realize your country, your army is using your people as terrorists, as human bombs, and you are saying America ne bhi to kiya tha. I mean, that must be the most bizarre logic east of Suez. But General Gurmeet Singh, go on, sir.
Gaurav, it is very interesting if you go through the book minutely. It shows that in 2003, Barack Obama had decided in his mind, or there was a thought that Osama bin Laden is in Pakistan and they got to target him sometime. And it took 8 years for US to target him.
Yes.
But more important is that after 2011, Pakistan has learned nothing. It is still continuing on the same path. They have actually, if you really ask me, they have harmed their generations, as included, and they have put them through the part of radicalization and extremism and fundamentalism. And the intellectuals like Kamar Chima are still steadfast on the wrong path. I think this is the need at this moment, or actually this was much earlier, that they should follow a policy of strategic reversal. From where they went wrong, they should start to the roots again. In fact, I would say 22 October 1947 was the time when they went wrong.
Yes, no, Aarti Tikku Singh, Pakistan suffering the cancer of terror, but it's so addicted to terror that it does not even want to turn, towards a new path. But more importantly, Aarti Tikku Singh, the aspect that Obama mentions that when he called up Asif Ali Zardari, then President of Pakistan, Asif Ali Zardari actually thanked him for bumping off Osama bin Laden. And that Obama says was genuine because his wife was assassinated by terrorists and Pakistan Army and ISI did nothing. They were perhaps complicit in it, Aarti.
Absolutely. Zardari, in fact, congratulated him and even said that whatever may be the fallout of this action that, US did without taking Pakistani establishment into confidence, he congratulated him regardless, saying that, he had suffered on account of religious extremism and religious terrorism in Pakistan because his wife was killed by the establishment. If you remember, Musharraf was also accused of being complicit in the assassination of Benazir Bhutto. But having said that, I would say that, Pakistan in 30 years of exporting terror to India has not done any self-introspection, how it has destroyed itself, how it has destroyed its society, its youth, millions of youth whom Obama refers to as dangerous and cruel. In those terms in his book, is a glaring example of a fact that this society has completely abandoned the process of self-introspection. A society that does no self-introspection cannot move forward. So no matter
is that
what,
actually true?
I don't think Pakistan has come to a point where it wants to take
Chima, you don't even see the fault.
terror.
You don't even see the fault of Osama bin Laden living in Abbottabad. No, hear me out, and hear me out very calmly. It's in time for introspection for every Pakistani that you are humiliated by every country. India says you're a state sponsor of terror, leave that aside. Afghanistan says you're a state sponsor of terror, leave that aside. Iran calls you a state sponsor of terror when, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards are killed by Pakistanis. America now says that they cannot trust you because you are a supporter of terror. Sir, is there time for introspection that why does your army support terrorists?
Well, I think this is a biased question, but I would tell you that after 9/11, it is Pakistan and Americans who have been fighting this war against terrorism. We have laid 70,000 lives, 7,000 have lost their lives. To whom against we have been fighting? The terrorists. And according to the former Defense Secretary, U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Schumer, who has said categorically that India is supporting the non-state actors in Afghanistan, the parties which attacked Pakistan.
If you are fighting,
the point is you need to understand
if you are fighting terrorists,
to whom you are feeding in Afghanistan, sir. You cannot shy away, you cannot run away.
Selectively, no, sir, if I may, sir, you are fighting terror selectively. 100, General Gurmeet Singh, 100 plus UN designated global terrorists, UN designated global terrorists live in Pakistan. Whether it is Hafiz Mohammad Saeed, whether it's Zakir Rahman Lakwi, Zarar Shah, or the Haqqani network, UN designated terrorists and terrorist entities are all operating out of Pakistan. If Kamar Chima, you don't feel humiliated about that, then nothing will humiliate you. But General Gurmeet Singh, perhaps then the only way to deal with Pakistan state-sponsored terror is the manner in which America killed Osama and India did Balakot.
Absolutely. I think Pakistan is deep into terrorism. There is no doubt about it. It has been established by every possible angle in the world. Second is, I think the book also brings out very beautifully that Pakistan has been attempting to ensure that the Afghanistan government remains weak. That policy is still continuing. In fact, a beautiful point has come out of this discussion today is that Pakistan must carry out introspection and adopt a strategic reversal. And they should be truthful to their awam. They have cheated them. They have been cruel to them. They've been bad to them. I think they should go back to the roots of governance and...
Frankly, the Pakistan army does not care about the Awam. The Pakistan army owns the country and it wants to just keep that country down. But Aarti Tikku Singh, one very interesting aspect in this book was the fact that Joe Biden, then Vice President, was opposed to a raid in Abbottabad and Joe Biden is now going to be President of the United States of America. Does that indicate that the US policy on Pakistan may be softer than what it was during Obama's time and Trump's time?
I don't think so. I think since George Bush's time, there has been a progressive approach to Pakistan problem in Washington. Whether it's been Democrats or Republicans, I think there is unanimity of purpose that Pakistan's terrorism, Pakistan's sponsorship of terrorism in Afghanistan, India needs to be called out. That is why the UNSC report recently mentioned that Al-Qaeda and Taliban and Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen are working in tandem, and Pakistan are pushing Lashkar terrorists into Afghanistan and training them for Kashmir. So I think the UNSC has clarity about that. Washington has clarity about that. Joe Biden also has clarity about that, because at the end of the day, it was Obama's view of Pakistan that prevailed during his presidency and not Joe Biden.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Kamar Chima, is that also your appreciation that whether it's Obama or Donald Trump or now Joe Biden, the policy towards Pakistan, state-sponsored terror, will remain strict?
Well, I think in my understanding, over these 2-3 years, the American administration is very happy that we have helped them in Afghanistan, where the inter-Afghan dialogue is going on. The American and Afghan administration, they have, the Taliban and the Americans, they have struck a deal in February this year. So the temperature in Washington is different what the Indians are reading. And definitely the Indian lobby would like that, should isolate Pakistan, or diplomatically isolate Pakistan in Washington. But this time the American administration
try not to look at America. Don't look at the world through an Indian prism.
Look at FATF.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
With the FATF. There are a couple of articles which are left. We will do with that. Don't worry. The Trump administration deliberately put us in that. That was a political move. That was not something very serious. So don't worry. Get ready. We are calling you. You are sponsoring terrorism now. Get ready for that.
You know, okay, you may live in a fool's paradise, but it will not benefit you. The world looks at facts and not fiction. But for the moment, Kamar Chima, Jalil Gurmeet Singh and Aarti Tikku, many thanks for joining me. Before I take a break, today is a very significant day. The 18th of November, 1962, when 120 Indian soldiers, Veer Ahirs of the Charlie Company of 13 Kumaon, held back almost a brigade, more than 2,000 soldiers of the Chinese army at Rizangla. Today is Rizangla Day. Imagine minus 30 degrees temperature, and our soldiers with 303 rifles, they held back the Chinese, did not let them advance. That same Rizangla is seeing a standoff even today. But I want to leave you with these images of Major Shaitan Singh, who was awarded a Paramveer Chakra, the nation's highest gallantry award, posthumously. 114 of those 120 made the supreme sacrifice of their lives, but the Chinese could not advance. I leave you with these images on Rizangla Day. We salute our braves.
Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.